Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Guys, I am Mike Spider Slayer from the YouTube channel Comic Book Corner 2.0. And right next to me, we have Kat Comic Uno.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And Brant is just running a little bit late, so he will be with us as well. So, of course, guys, we have our weekly news. We have our top 5 comic books that we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be discussing our most anticipated and about the books that we think that we're going to be dropping as well. So, hopefully, we provide a good show for you. Hopefully, you guys will stay through the duration, and of course, we'll always take your questions and comments. And with that being said, Kat, let's go ahead and take it away and kick it off with that news.
Yeah, well, Tevi asks where you are, but you've been here the whole time. So where is everybody? Where's Mike? Mike is here.
Mike's here. Can you see me, guys?
All right, well, let's get started in some news here. So let's start with you, Mike. You have a couple that you just wanted to talk about. So we have Swamp Thing getting a Black Label book. It's not Batman, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I will take any type of, DC book at this point that's not like a Batman related book, right? And the only reason why this really piques my interest is because Jeff Lemire is writing this book. So not only, does Black Label make things a little bit more edgy or whatnot, but you got Jeff Lemire on it. So anything or mostly anything that Jeff Lemire writes is actually really, really solid. So I might actually give this one a try.
I love Jeff Lemire, but I really don't like Swamp Thing. So I don't know if I'll try it out. But yeah, I do agree. Jeff Lemire, anything he kind of touches is good stuff. So hopefully it's a good book for Swamp Thing fans. Next up is Sabretooth getting his own book. Man, X-Men. I don't want to say they're running out of ideas, but do we need a Sabretooth book? I'm right now, I think, only have one X-Men book, and that's Marauders. I don't know if I really am reading any other X-Men books right now, which is kind of crazy.
Well, with the Sabretooth book, I am interested in, because maybe we're going to see what Sabretooth went through the whole time he was in the depths of Krakoa. And maybe now this leads up to his return. So, I mean, literally, we have not seen Sabretooth at all this entire time. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there wondering, like, where he's been, what he's been through, how this actually changes the character. So this is actually something that I am probably looking forward to.
You'll have to let us know if it's a worthwhile pick. I don't think isn't it ongoing? I think it's just a mini series.
I think it's a mini series. I want to say it's maybe 4 issues. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Which it's always nice to see some mini series. I think that's always it's always good instead of just ongoings. And when they announce it's a mini series, it's nice instead of just like, oh, it was a mini series all along.
Chevy goes, I would rather have him stay dead because he's a villain. He never died, though. They just put him in the depths. It was like a prison that you couldn't escape. So he never technically died.
So moving on to the next thing here, we do have WandaVision getting no Emmys. So it was nominated for so many Emmys, and a lot of people were disappointed, especially about supporting actress with the villain of the story. So, that's definitely disappointing, but, I think it's great that they were nominated in general. I didn't get to really watch the Emmys this year, so I think Ted Lasso won a lot. That's all I really know of. And I think the biggest complaint for a lot of people was that comedy and drama is the only categories right now, and they should have a middle ground category like dark comedy, because that's where maybe WandaVision could have shined more than, like, let's say Ted Lasso, which Ted Lasso's an actual comedy show. It's like a very positive show. So to have that compete against each other, it's kind of weird. They are very different shows.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a show that has been nominated like 23 times, how don't you win?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? And there was this article on Newsarama explaining, like, the Emmys are they were like using shows like say The Mandalorian and WandaVision for gaining maybe that audience that was attached to those shows in hopes for them to win an Emmy, but never actually give it to them. So it's just like one of those things where they were doing it to try to get ratings, and their intentions were never to give an award to those shows. Which, if that was the case, I mean, that's sad. Like, how do you get nominated 23 times and don't win a single award?
Not one, yeah. That's crazy. But I mean, it's a good point. It might just be there for ratings because it did really well. So that is definitely a shame there. Next thing, I'm sorry we're jumping around a little bit with categories, but I'm trying to save all the Brant topics. But next up is World of Krypton miniseries was announced. And honestly, the reason I wanted to talk about this is just like, it's nice that we have something that's Superman related, and it's Robert Venditti who did Green Lantern. So, you know, he knows his cosmic stories. I'm particularly not going to pick it up because I don't quite care. And I guess my negative side of this is like, how many times can we get this story? We've had this setting a lot. So it's nice to have Superman, but do I need another Krypton story? Probably not.
I'm right there with you. Like, when I saw this, I'm like, what are you going to do that's different, right? Didn't we get that Krypton TV show that, you know, that told the story there? And then, like, we've done different versions of Superman before, and it's like, I like Robert Venditti, but do I care what leads up to that point again? Like, how exciting is that comic going to be, right? Are we going to have a lot of standing around debating if we should or shouldn't leave Krypton? Like, I don't know how exciting, like I said, it could be. Like, it just seems like it could be a very boring comic.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to end up picking that one up. But I don't think any of us here are going to pick it up, especially because Brant didn't mark it down. But next up, we have we're going to go into now all the stuff Brant has mentioned. But I'm going to pick the Batgirls is getting an ongoing series, which, you know, we kind of knew this was going to happen. Oh, and Brant's here, but he sounds like he's in a wind tunnel.
It's my laptop. It's making a lot of noise for some reason.
It's good now. Well, you made it just in time to talk about your first topic that you marked down, which is Batgirls getting an ongoing series. So, Brant, since you just joined us, what do you think about this?
I'm really excited about this. I mean, we talked about this for weeks, that this is long overdue. We're like, why hasn't this happened yet? And, you know, I was hopeful that we would get a mini series, and to find out we're getting an ongoing series, you know, however long it ends up lasting. I'm just stoked about it. I can't wait to see. I just hope the art's good, and I hope the writing's good. That's all I can hope for.
The art looked a little gritty, in my opinion, for an all-ages book, but the concept obviously looks great, and I'm also just super excited for an ongoing Batgirls book. Like, I'll pick that up, even if it's just there's stick figures. I'll go pick up that book.
I'll read it too. I'm going to check it out. I mean, we've been talking about this. I think it was like since Joker War. Remember when they had hints of that series coming out? So, and throughout the Batman series, it's been sprinkled in there that all the Batgirls are working together. So it's been definitely leading into that for sure.
Yeah.
We do have a question from BJ. Which is the better manga system, like 1, 2, I think 1 and go, like I guess serialization they mean, or arc system? We've discussed this. I think it depends on the series, but I kind of like the arc system a little bit more from a selling point of view. I think it's a lot easier for people to jump on. Yeah, that's just kind of my motto on that.
Yeah, I think we all kind of agreed on that too. It's like, for those long-running series that we're so used to, you know, hundreds of issues, it would be kind of weird to see them, you know, kind of boiled down to like little mini-series or whatever. But most things, I think, would benefit from arcs or you know, short runs, mini-series, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely talked about that. Arcs is, I think, the way to go. And then if you want to continuing that long numbering, you see that in Marvel Comics anyway, with the legacy numbering on most of their titles anyway.
Yeah.
So, Brant, you wanted to talk about the Hit Monkey teaser. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I just, for one, I think it's so bizarre that of all things, this is what they're running with. I mean, I remember when this came out in comic form, we were all like, "What the heck is Hit Monkey?" And it was just so bizarre at the time, and to see it now realized, and actually the animation doesn't look bad. It was interesting. I will probably check it out. It's not going to be like destination television or anything, but why not? It looks fun. It's a hitman that's a monkey, and you know,
Where is
what
this
more can you
coming
say?
out on? I didn't get a chance to watch the
Hulu.
trailer. Hulu?
Yeah, Hulu on November 17th is the release date. Yeah.
I'm not watching it because I don't have Hulu, so it's a miss for me, and I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna skip on that one too. I don't think I need to do that one. I do have Hulu, but I don't think I ever needed a Hit Monkey show.
Yeah. Speaking of Hulu, real quick, because I know you guys probably didn't get to watch it. I actually watched the first 3 episodes of Why the Last Man over the past
I'm
couple
excited
days.
to hear about that. I've been wanting to wait until the full season comes out for that one.
Yeah, and this is coming from somebody that's never read the comic, so it's I'm coming in cold. I think it's good, but it's a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how the comic presents Yorick, but he's not a very likable character in this series. So I'm not sure. Like I'm attached to the agent that's kind of protecting him. She seems to be, the one you're rooting for. But he's kind of like he's kind of a jerk. He doesn't want to cooperate. But it's a fine series. It's kind of slow getting into it, but I'm enjoying it. Whether
I know
I'll
it had a
enjoy
lot
it
of
long
production
term.
issues. Like it had it was supposed to come out a long time ago, and like people
Yeah.
left, blah blah blah.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see going forward if I can stick with it. If it continues to be slow and something doesn't pick up or the main characters aren't more likable as it goes on, I think that would lose me. So
I never read the comic either. I think that series came out before I started reading comics again. I'm pretty sure it did. Like I started reading again solidly like in 2008.
It was definitely before the New 52. I was I think in grammar school. I actually have not read it either. As such a Brian K. Vaughan fan, I've only read pieces of it. I've not read the whole thing.
Right. So I'd be curious. I mean, like I said, I don't have Hulu, so I'm not going to be able to watch it. But I might want to check out the series one day. I've seen books, and I'm like, I want to read this, but it's like there's multiple trades, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of them. So
yeah.
It seems like a worthwhile read. I just, I have my stray dogs trade. I'm going through smallly catching up with different books. Why the Last? It's so hard to binge books for me just because we read every week. It's hard to find that time to read a trade. I honestly usually do it like when I'm traveling or something. I'm like, okay, I could read a little bit, but I don't travel as much as I used to in the regard of like commuting. I used to commute every day when I was in college. So, and even when I had my master's, but I was driving, so couldn't read there. So yeah, it's a little harder to catch up with things. We have a couple of questions here. Looks like Tevye asks, anyone excited for Star Wars Visions? I don't know much about it, in my opinion. So, guess can't be excited.
Yeah, I don't know what is this exactly. I don't know anything about it either. Mike.
I didn't hear anything about it either.
Let's see.
If Tevye wants to explain it, that's fine too.
That's a shame you didn't get the notification for the show.
Oh, and they're anime shorts apparently. I don't know who they feature or what, but that's all I'm finding so far.
So there you go. That's our opinion on Star Wars Visions.
The only one thing I can say about your notifications is check your notifications and make sure you're receiving all notifications, not just some of them. Or you might want to unclick the bell and then re-click it again. And maybe that might get it to the point to where you're going to receive everything. Who knows? But I've been hearing that a lot from a lot of people. Actually, they're not getting their notifications.
Serenity says it's a great series and I read it in trade myself. Loved it. And Agent 55 is the best in the comic.
Okay. Yeah. So far, she's the best in the TV show too, in my opinion.
Well, excited to see how that show ends up going, and if it'll be worthwhile when the season's over. But
Did you see this comment? Did you see
No,
this
which
comment
one?
here? Brian K. Vaughan has made quite a few fans angry with Saga going on 3 years hiatus now, and no word when it will return.
Honestly, I agree. I will never be upset with Brian K. Vaughan, but I am definitely anticipating the return for Saga, just like everybody else.
You know, if that series or whenever that series returns, that return issue is going to be huge. Like a lot of people are going to buy that.
I'm stoked. The big reason is not even just it was on a hiatus. It just ended on one of the biggest comic book cliffhangers you can have. And they're like, oh, wait, 3-year hiatus. Has anybody heard something about the last Alex Ross Timeless covers? I wasn't collecting them, so I don't know much about that.
I have all of the last set that he's done, every single one of them. So I don't know anything else about them or if there's new ones or anything like that.
Yeah. We also have Randy. Oh, we're going to say Brent?
I was saying I don't either. So
we have Randy Wells says, I'm only on issue 20 something in the comics, and I'm all caught up on all 4 episodes of the show, and they're great. There you go. We got some more. Any opinion on Halloween Kills? Hasn't come out yet. You can't have an opinion on something that hasn't come out. I'll see it when it's out. It's coming out soon. All right. So next is let's talk about IDW ending its relationship with Diamond. You know, another big company leaving Diamond. I mean, it's kind of the same song we've been singing. There's nothing more else to say than, you know, we got to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, that's crazy too. I mean, listen, IDW has its own issues as it is right now. But that's just another company that is just leaving Diamond, and it's just, I don't know, man, these companies now, they're just going to put that final nail on the coffin for them unless Diamond just focuses on something else. Like they got focus on their toys or statues and stuff like that, and don't worry about the comics and just make something else their priority.
Yeah, Marvel's still with them, right? Or no? I don't remember.
No, Marvel's not with them anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah. So who do they have left in the world of comics?
Like Image, I think they still have.
And Dark Horse, maybe, or is Dark Horse? Yeah. I mean, like those are the. Yeah, Image and Dark Horse are the last big ones. Then. Yeah. I agree. I think they should just like focus on Diamond Select and move on. It's crazy though. It's just so
that's
crazy.
What's so interesting is when people say, "Oh, Diamond's gonna end." It's like maybe as like a distributing, but they do have a different line of like statues and stuff like that they can still survive as a company. I just think it's gonna be a very different company.
Yeah.
Why is The Last Ronin being delayed? Is better to read them as a whole. I know it was extremely delayed, but I don't know the reasons.
Is it delayed? It was supposed to come out tomorrow. Is it not coming out tomorrow?
I think it is coming tomorrow. I think it just overall in general is asking like, why is it taking so long for these issues to come out in between?
Yeah, I don't know. Aside from the obvious stuff, but who knows?
Yeah. Moving on to the next thing, which is Gotham Academy returns with a short. So this is interesting. We know Maps is in it. We don't know if other characters are in it. I couldn't get into Gotham Academy as much as I know Brant really liked Gotham Academy. But I think it's interesting that they're actually utilizing these shorts in a good way, seeing characters that we haven't seen in a while, cult favorite characters. So even if I'm not a fan of the franchise, I think this is the way you should do these little $1 extra side stories.
Yeah. I'm just glad to see it come back in some form. I love the original series. When they switched to that yearbook thing, it completely lost me, and I lost interest in it. But Maps was a really fun character. She was kind of a supporting character in the book, but she became very popular because she was just so fun and kind of go-getter. So seeing her come back and just seeing that whole environment come back is fun for me. Anytime Gotham Academy is brought up in another comic, I get excited, even though it's not the same thing. Like I think Clown Hunter went there briefly, or it was mentioned in that one shot, the Secret Files, and I was like, Gotham Academy. So this is really cool for me.
I think like people need to go back and read Gotham Academy so
Yeah.
they have an understanding of like what the heck is Gotham Academy, because it's not a series that's a regular series. People are gonna be like, Gotham Academy, there was a book about that, and who was this character? So
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. It wasn't like I wasn't the biggest thing, but it was all right for me.
I had a lot of fun with it. It was a mystery kind of thing, and I'm into those kind of shows that are like that. So it was
Right.
like, yeah.
Bart's like, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
I was like, I thought about saying something else, and I was like, well, what else can I say? I like it.
Well, Tevye is asking if you think this will launch into like another book. I mean, I think anything's possible if it's bought enough. I'm guessing they're telling this story for a reason.
I would like to see this actually, as it's kind of leading into our topic later that we're going to get into, but I'd love to see this as a webtoon. I think that'd be a perfect format for that type of story. Yeah.
We do have one more topic, which we'll get into, and then we'll get into our main topic. But the next topic is Ben Reilly getting a title exploring his 90s adventures. So if you thought you're getting so much Ben Reilly in the regular Spider-Man series, you're getting even more Ben Reilly, which the one Ben Reilly series is enough for me. I don't know if I'll pick this one up. I've never been a hardcore Ben Reilly fan, but it's cool to kind of explore Spider-Man in the 90s. Yeah. But if it's just focusing on Ben, I don't know.
No. I mean, I might check it out just to see what it's about. What's up, Bavarian? How you doing? Reading the comics this past week too. It's sitting there reading the description of what like Batman Beyond, but like what is it? The Spider-Man Beyond thing. That's what it's called. And it's the Beyond Corporation that buys the title of Spider-Man and enhances his suit. That's basically what it is. And they're retiring Peter Parker Spider-Man. So it's quite an interesting story right there, that concept. But I don't know how far I'll go into the flashbacks because that's what it is of the 90s. So we'll see. I mean, we have a lot of Ben Reilly in that Clone Saga. So do we need that much more?
Yeah, that's my only reservation is that flashback stuff it doesn't tend to grab me. I mean, we've seen that with like the symbiote Spider-Man stuff. Occasionally, I'll read a good issue of that, and then I eventually drop the series. And so yeah, it's kind of cool. I love Ben Reilly. I love the Masked Spider-Man. I love the Masked Scarlet Spider. That was one of my favorite times in Spider-Man comics, as a matter of fact. But yeah, I don't know. I'll try it, see what it's like. If it's just just some random story that doesn't have any repercussions in the present or the future, it is what it is, right?
So going into our main topic this night is Batman Webtoon bringing more readers than the regular title, which I don't think is a huge surprise. It's why they did it. A, it's free. B, it's on a platform that has more readers than regular comics. So I'm not surprised by this. I think it's doing its job. So yeah, I don't think this is a surprising headline at all. And I hope DC learns from it and other comic book companies learn from it.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, obviously, it's like you said, it's free. So that's the big reason why so many people are actually, reading it. And also, if you're on Webtoons and you're looking for superhero comics and then you see Batman on there, and maybe you're not up to the main stories of Batman, this gets you familiar with, like, obviously the characters of Batman. Now, everybody knows Bruce Wayne, but do people know a lot about Alfred or Damian or any of the other characters on there, So I think it's a good thing. Again, it's like you guys said last week, it's just one of those things that it's another way to read comic books, putting comic books in people's hands. And you can't complain about free, right? Anything that's free, it's just like, hey, I'll check it out. And, Webtoons is a great thing. I was looking a lot at it today, and there's just endless material on there. It's absolutely awesome. And there's something there for everybody. you know, whether you're romance, whether you're horror, whether you're action, adventure, superhero, thriller, like all those categories are in there. And you guys should check it out. If you haven't explored it yet, it's absolutely free. And there's, again, endless material to read on there.
Yeah, and good
Yeah,
material too, like top tier material. But then you also get like indie creators, so it really is just like
Yeah.
everybody on there.
yeah. It's a phenomenal platform that I think a lot of us, traditional comic readers aren't fully aware of the impact that it has. And I think it was very smart. I agree with you guys. It was very smart for DC to turn to that platform, and the way that they're going about it too, with the Bat family. Obviously, their most popular characters, but also kind of making it a little bit more lighthearted. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you're, like you pointed out, Mike, you're introducing them to the entire Bat family, which a lot of people may know Batman, Robin, Batgirl. They may not know a lot of these other characters, and seeing them in this webtoon, no matter what tone of story it is be like, oh, this character Cass is really cool. I should go see if I can find some other stuff that Cass is in, and or Duke or any of them, which I think is really cool. And it could be a gateway for a few, or it just could be this really cool thing for Super Bat fans, or just another another opportunity to get readers into a DC comic property, which is always good. So
yeah, and then I mean they're smaller books because it's like a webtoon thing, and they're like little episodes, and so you can take your time in telling the story, and then as time goes along, you can introduce it, get a little bit more darker or whatever, introduce villains, but it's always going to, all the previous episodes are going to be there so you can catch up and read. That's the good thing about it. Like, it's not a 28 page or 30 page book to go out there and read, and you can read it at your pace. You don't have to pay for it, and you can save your list and everything else. So it's a smart move. It really is. But yeah, you also just made a good point. Like, it could be a gateway. You could be like, oh shit, I'm like all of a sudden into Batman. Now I want to see what the real comics are about,
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
And
it was interesting. Tevye asked a question earlier. It was like, oh, do you think the Batgirls ongoing series is going to bring Cassandra and Stephanie to the mainstream? It's like, no, because those characters are already in the eyes of the people who would have read those books or would have read Batman, because they're in the Batman series. The thing is that is going to bring Cassandra and Stephanie to the mainstream is this webtoon, not their own ongoing series.
right?
Yeah. Another thing I'll say about webtoon real quick is the community there. I mean, so many comments on these. I mean, you don't see that a lot. It's there's a lot of conversation going on back and forth, and
a lot of it's positive too,
Yeah.
which is really nice. I was like, that's good and weird because you don't really see that on the internet. Our latest episode of our webtoon, the Slice of Life webtoon, has gotten like 130 comments in a day.
Yeah.
That's crazy, and
all positive from what I saw too. By the way,
we haven't gotten any negative comments, which is very nice. That's very cool. But
and that's what's kind of cool about it, because it's a community with all these fans of comic books, and you have all these comic books that you can read online, and then it's like right away people can comment on it and generate some buzz about it, and I think that is pretty cool. So can you imagine, like, if we had a site that had, and this is where digital would truly start to take over or get more into the mainstream, if you had one comic book site and you had, say, for the main ones, like you had DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, and you like a Netflix, and you paid that subscription service, and you can read whatever comics that you can, that you would want to read. And how cool would it be to actually just comment on it as soon as you would read it? You would probably get that similar thing as you would in webtoons, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, modernization of message boards. Right. Only in a positive light, which is not what most message boards were. That would be cool. I would love that. If somebody could come up with a system like that, it would be really cool. Until then, you got us here every week, and you can talk to us. and leave comments in the chat below.
We are the message board in that way. We do have a couple of comments here, so I'm going to scroll up. Tavia asks, what other DC characters deserve a webtoon? I do think like the Superman family should be next. If we, obviously this was a success, so that'd be cool.
Yeah,
they're obviously going to do more. They said they're partnering with DC, so
yeah,
I could see the Flash.
Yeah,
Flash would be cool.
Yeah,
I know we all say like we see too many Batman Superman family stuff, but when you're going to a new platform, I think you have to start with your
staples.
Your staples and the characters that most people know who they are. Yeah,
right.
That will pull them in. And then you branch out with some lesser known characters, maybe.
I could even see I could even see like Teen Titans. I could see something like that. Maybe not as serious, but same thing, like lighthearted, maybe something even like the TV show back in the day, not Teen Titans Go, but something like that,
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot you can do with it. It just depends how you want to execute it, what characters you want to put in there. But yeah, I mean, again, if you can bring a community together and you have good quality content on there that they can read and it starts generating buzz, it's a good thing. I just wish that all these comic companies would do this idea and get their head out of their ass and just say, okay, let's just work together. Let's put this all on one platform and let's just do this. And
I think Comixology is really the place that really needs to start doing that, because that is the one place where everything's there. So if they were going to do it, I think that's the place where they could work together.
Comixology, owned by Amazon. Yep.
Owned by Amazon, exactly. Amazon
Kindle Direct Publishing is KDP.
We have a couple more questions here. So Jace asks, Mike, will Dollar Bin Diving return soon to your channel?
Okay, so let me answer this question. So it's not going to be a weekly series anymore, just because I don't physically have the room to to buy all the comic books that I buy in my normal haul and then buy an additional like 12 to 13 books every single week. So I literally just finished putting away every single comic book that accumulated over the summertime. I don't have a single comic book out. Everything is put away. It's amazing how nice it looks in here in this garage right now and not cluttered with comic books. And so what I'm going to do is when I go to the shop, what I'll do is maybe I'll buy like one or two here and there. And then once I get enough accumulated, then I'll bust out an episode. So it's not going to be a weekly thing, but it's not going to be something that's gone away either. So once I get enough, then I'll bring together an episode again. Yeah, that's what makes sense. It adds up really fast. That is for sure, man. And being that I buy anywhere between those 15 to 25 books a week, plus like other back issues and omnibuses and just trades and all that other stuff, dude, it's hard, man. It struggle's real.
The truth is, Mike just wanted to give his nose a break. That's all.
That's it. That was definitely the truth.
That was it.
I love doing that series too, man. It's so much fun, but I just realized, I was like, man, I can't do it every week. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So next up is from BJ. Which one is more entertaining, TV, movies, games, or comics? I mean, you're talking to a comic book crowd. So, I mean, for me, comics, right?
Jeez. I like all three, though.
Yeah, I like all of it. Yeah, I've always been a big TV movie guy. I've always been a big comic guy, and I've always played games. So it's like there's different things to enjoy about each medium.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge movie person. Like, I love movies, but ever since I realized, like, I have kids, I don't watch movies nearly as much as I used to. When I was younger, I used to go to the movies all the time. Yep. When I was a kid growing up, all I did was play video games, like how my son does now. Like, all I did was play. I had Super Nintendo, I had PlayStation, I had all the Nintendo 64. Like, I played everything all the time, every game. I was like at the shop, sitting there, pre-ordering stuff. The only thing that I think that I'm anticipating right now is the newest Metroid game for Switch that's coming out on October 8th, which is called Metroid Dread. So me and my son are both really excited about that, but I just don't have time for it. So I was like, well, that's why I'm like so heavily into the comics again, because comics take 5 minutes to read, you know, but then the whole YouTube thing came into play and I'm like, well, YouTube takes a lot of time, but I find that it's much more rewarding to do YouTube, because not only did I make friends on YouTube for years now, like you guys, but I've met the community out there, the people that watch my channel, that watch other channels, that we have this conversations with, and I feel like it's just so much more rewarding this way. So that's why I'm so much more into the comics, you know. And we talked about it too, like when we were kids. Well, Kat's still pretty much a kid, but she's a little bit older kid now. But when we were kids, like we had comic books, but we were considered nerds, and you did not talk to comics with anybody. Very few selected. And once YouTube came out, man, that whole thing changed. And once the movies came out, you know, all of a sudden comic books are in the mainstream now, you know. So
Avengers, especially, like when I was in high school, it still wasn't the most popular thing. Then like college, I would say it became a little bit more popular. And now obviously I went to the dentist. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go to a Comic-Con. It's like, oh, I'm going to a Comic-Con too, blah, blah, blah. And it's like people talk about it and it's cool. And, you know, and people want to know more about comics because of all these shows and movies, which is very cool.
yeah, absolutely.
That looks like that's all the comments, and that was our Webtoon segment. So before we get into the comics, I of course want to promote one more time my Kickstarter that's going on. So I'm gonna screen share that so we could look at it. Luckily, this is such an easy one to promote. I don't have to say much about it. Bi Visibility, a Bisexual Anthology. It's out. It's out of the closet. We have 8 days left to go, and this is actually this Thursday is going to be Bi Visibility Day, so it's kind of cool that we're in Bi Visibility Month, and this is kind of, you know, coming to an end. We were able to celebrate it as this was live, so we're also very close to 1,000 backers. So we're hoping that we will make it to 1,000 backers. I think
8 days. Yep, 8 days to get there.
I think we can. I really think we can, because those last 2 days usually pick up a lot. So, and we've been doing pretty consistent in that mid campaign as well. But hopefully, you guys could go check it out. You know, you could check out the digital comic for $5, or check out almost 17 books for $1. So just go check out the campaign, and yeah, that definitely mean a lot. Now we're gonna move into some comic books. So let's see what we're gonna discuss.
Of course, yes, guys. So we're going to talk about comics now, and as always, there are definitely spoilers. So if you have not read last week's books at this point, you got to go back and read them, and then you can rewatch this show, and then you can put your comments down below. But hopefully, you stay with us so we can discuss these books together, right? So the first big book that we're going to talk about is Harley Quinn, the animated series. Issue 1. So I did not like this book, and
you know, I want to interject for a second. What really sucks is that the show is so much better than this book.
I probably gathered that. You know what I'm saying? Like the first issue, it was just like it tried really hard to try to get you to understand what was going on in the animated series, so you could kind of understand what was going on in this book. But the issue that I had with this problem, this book, was Poison Ivy. She was my biggest problem in this book, because she was so up and down. She was like, 1 minute she was just like distraught, heartbroken over the loss of Kite Man and the whole wedding situation, how like she truly, I don't think, loved him. And then she's like totally in love with Harley Quinn, and she shows her love for her, which I had no problem with. Like, I like that, but it's just like, kind of make up your mind in the book. Like, are you really excited or are you really upset? And it was kind of like all over the place with that. And they filled it up with so much dialogue, like I said, trying to catch you up on maybe what was going on in the series, that it just wasn't enjoyable. And I just did not like it at all.
Yeah, I think it was a shame. Like, I liked it a little bit more just because I liked the show, and maybe I just wanted to like it. But I feel like Poison Ivy was really written out of character. I 100% agree. She's nothing like that on the show. And honestly, she's the best character on the show. So I think that's the biggest disappointment. I felt like a lot of the jokes did not land like they normally would in the show. It was just okay. I think it was really cool to see Harley and Poison Ivy together, which is why it was a little higher for me. Like I enjoyed seeing them. But again, the contrast
of part I enjoyed.
I just wish they made season 3 or they had one of the writers from the show write this because it really felt very jarring. The artwork was very good for this book. That's something I enjoyed. I obviously will see it through, but I think the biggest disappointment is that this could have been a gateway for a lot of people to watch the show. And I just don't think it showcased what the show is all about. And the show for me is 10 times better than this.
Right. Did you read this, Brant, or
No.
No. Yeah, I mean, it was like you wanted to celebrate that love with Harley and Poison Ivy, but you could not appreciate it because she was going back to the whole Kite Man situation. And it's just like, man, oh man, just like get over it. Like, oh, and it was frustrating. And, I noticed it too. Like if you had one of the variant covers of this book, you would have never known that this was a 17 and older book. Like the main cover showed them kind of really close. But like, there's a couple variants in there where she's like, Harley's running away and stuff like that. And you would not know that this is an older ages book because it says very small, 17 and plus in there. And you would open this book up and they're like, all over each other. And they're saying that they're going to pounce on each other and all this crazy stuff. And then they're in bed together and it's like wild, So I was like, oh, okay. But
what's funny is that they couldn't curse. So like in the show, they drop F-bombs so often. So to see them not be able
in this one.
But they couldn't say fuck.
No.
And that was so and that's they are so vulgar in the show in the funniest way, but it's just like it was so weird also because that's why it also wasn't tonally correct because they had to like bring it down a notch from the show.
You know what I noticed? No, this book is not a Black Label book.
No, I think it's
a regular DC book. Yeah. So that's why I was also surprised that there was like, that it was just like, I don't know, nothing else there to show that it was this,
It is cartoony. The art.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Regular cover? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The only thing that would tell you, obviously you can see them kissing or hanging out on each other, but yeah, you would never know by opening up that it would be like that. So it's kind of weird for me. I don't know.
I'm hoping issue 2 picks up because issue 2 it looks like Catwoman's gonna be in it, and Catwoman is hysterical in the show. So I'm hoping she'll be funny here. So we'll see. We'll see how it ends up going. But I was so excited for this book, and now I'm like, it was fine.
All right, so that's Harley Quinn. All right, now let's talk about the next DC book, the other new #1 that came out, which was Titans United issue 1.
I based on the show.
What's that?
Like it was also kind of based on the show, which was interesting. Yeah. Well, it's the same cast. That really confused me, honestly, because I'm like, is it based on the show? Where is this?
Because I noticed, I was like, okay, well, Hawk and Dove are in it, right? And I know that they're in the TV show. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun, I thought it was fine. I liked the action in it, and I liked, them dealing with the person who absorbed their powers or had powers all of a sudden. And then it looks like other people are like losing their powers on top of it. Like Connor was. And now was Jason Todd like a super big asshole in this issue, or was it like done on purpose?
Honestly, I didn't notice. I feel like I wasn't really thinking about that because I was just looking at the whole entire team interacting.
He was
like a jerk
really
to Connor.
ragging on Superboy.
Yeah.
He's like, you're such a loser. He's like, what happened to all your powers? And then Connor winds up cracking him in the face. And like, it was just like, it's like, oh, I take bigger punches than that. And I'm like, wow, man, why is he like really over the top?
Yeah. I don't know. It was weird. I guess they're going somewhere with that. If it is loosely based on the show, I mean, Jason Todd is a total jerk on that show.
Is he?
I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to make it like kind of in the show universe, but kind of not, which I like this book, but I'm also like, what is this book? Like, I enjoyed it as just like, oh, this is fun, but like, what? Yeah. Where is it going?
I think I had it built up a little bit higher in my head going into it, so I was a little bit disappointed. I enjoyed it. I did think it was fun. I did like seeing all those characters that are on the show, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, this is just kind of here. You know what I mean? It wasn't anything that was just like, oh my god, I got to get the next issue of this. So I was a little bit disappointed by that. I actually liked the conflict between Red Hood and Superboy because his whole thing was Superboy being, want to be a pretender, and Jason Todd kind of was that for the Robins. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it was almost a little self-loathing that he was projecting on the Superboy. That's what I got from it.
Gotcha. I just couldn't gear it. Like I couldn't get it. Like I was
Yeah.
like, because I know everyone was like, it seemed like everybody was a little bit out of character. So I didn't
Mhm.
know if it was the show because I don't watch the show, or I didn't know if it was whoever was writing this book, right? This is the way they're writing them, or if it had to do with everything that was going on with their powers being all a little bit wonky and they don't know what is happening to to themselves. So I don't know if it was like someone is manipulating their personalities or something.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit confused on that. And I guess maybe we won't know until we read issue 2 of what really is going on.
Yeah, and that's possible too. It could be something having to do with that because Connor lost his temper and punched him too. So
Right.
it could definitely be something affecting them. Jace had said, he didn't understand why Red Hood was on there. Again, these are the characters from the Titans show that is on I think it's on TNT now and HBO Max. But yeah, they threw Jason Todd in there so they could fast track the Red Hood story, basically.
That's why I was a little bit confused. I was like, why is Jason Todd on a team? And then I realized that it's Titans from the live action show.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any other discussion on Titans? Nope. All right. So let's go on to your guys' favorite book, Power Rangers issue 11.
Power Rangers. This issue, there was some interesting stuff. Lord Draken, he returns, which was very cool, and they're kind of building up to this space war with Zordon's people. But I still don't like this series as much as I like the other one. But I like parts of this issue. I felt like the actual Ranger stuff wasn't as interesting until we got to the end.
Yeah, the interesting part for me was Draken coming back and obviously turning on them as we kind of figured he would the entire time. It's very telegraphed. But the stuff with the Rangers, trying to convince the emissary and fighting the Imperials and all that stuff is, oh my god. I had to kind of slog through that part of it. The other series is definitely stronger. But yeah, some interesting stuff because they do tie in together because of the Eltarians, Zordon's people, and all that. And they kind of touched on things that were happening in the other series and happened in the past, and kind of trying to connect them a little bit more. So hopefully, going forward, we will get some more connective tissue between the two series, and it'll make both of them more interesting. So
for sure.
All right. Is that the Power Ranger discussion?
That is the
That's
Power
it.
Ranger discussion.
Is that it?
That is it for this week.
All right. So let's move on to, I didn't we even talk about our number 5 because I just moved on to Power Rangers.
Yep.
So
You're
I
that
just realized
excited.
that. Yeah, I was really excited for you guys to talk about Power Rangers, like on the edge of my seat there. So let's talk about our number 5. And my number 5 is actually Fantastic Four issue, whatever we're on, 60-year anniversary. The issue 35. And if you're following that legacy numbering, everybody, it's 600 and what? 80?
Is it 680?
680. Yeah,
80.
680.
Okay.
It's issue
Sorry.
35. This is such a big book.
Oh my god! It took me like an hour to read it.
This was one of the first ones I read on purpose. It's like I need to get
It
this.
was like 3 or 4 sittings that I read it. Yeah.
This was the last book I read, and I was like, all right, let's just dedicate myself, and I read it for the hour straight, and it was a lot to read. Let me tell you. I mean, but I liked it though. I was very impressed that we had a very large book with a very large story. And I feel like this is the way you got to do anniversary issues. Unlike when we've seen in the past, whether it's DC or Marvel, where we have these anniversary issues in their anthology stories or one-page stories and all that.
Yeah.
This is the way you do it. This was a big story. It felt like it was something big, and it had to do with what was relevant in Marvel right now with all of Kang. It was a cool story with all these different versions of Kang, and Reed Richards getting the one up on him. I just thought that was actually really brilliant. And what was really cool was he segmented it into 4 different issues, like a real comic book story. It had its own covers and everything. And even though Remuda is not my favorite artist,
it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. You can tell
there were times where it was bad, though. There
There
were times
were
where they hardly had a face.
All those lines.
Panels, I'm like, oh man. I'm like, look who's back. Like the way he drew like Franklin and
oh
like
my god, he
Val.
was so bad. Yeah, I did not like the
Their heads
kids.
so big. Their heads are so big.
And they all just had like dots for eyes. Like it was
so
like
young.
they had no faces.
Yeah.
It was not
Yeah.
good. I would say that art did take me out of it a lot. I really
But then
disliked
when
it.
he took his time and he did like
The
those
fights.
comic book covers, I thought those
Yeah.
were actually pretty good, you know?
Yeah, and each one was like within the time period that they were produced, so it was the same kind of trade dress, same kind of styling on the cover.
Yeah,
Everything.
prices
That's a-
were the same too.
Yeah,
like 12
was a
cent
nice touch.
cover, and then it was like $2.99, and I'm like, oh look, it's going up in price, just like real comic books are.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So it was
Yeah.
an
I like
interesting
the-
story.
I thought the ending was really good. Like I'm curious to see where that goes because I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
a cliffhanger
Sister,
that
right?
could go. Yeah, that could go a
Yeah.
lot of places. Especially like
Mhm.
just Reed always. Will he be attentive to this? Will he not be? Like, what will the sister add? Will she have powers? Like, what's gonna happen here? So I'm very curious about that. But we've obviously seen the story before, like with Spider-Man, and didn't go anywhere. But I hope there's a plan. I didn't love this book, but I appreciated the book, and I'm excited to see what it means for the rest of the Fantastic Four. Like, I'm excited for the future of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and what's
Yeah.
gonna go on with Johnny because he's stuck in this like supernova form where he could just like blow up at any time, and he's being held together by a force shield, from Sue. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I could have done without the backup stories.
Me
I don't
too.
think they were
Yeah.
needed. But it made sense to use Kang and use all the different versions of Kang that we've seen throughout time. And, I thought it was fine for what it was. I didn't love it either, but like I said, I appreciated the effort put into it. And the cliffhanger was very interesting. That could be anybody from, anywhere. So that's really intriguing to me. And, we still don't know what's happening with Johnny. So, yeah.
Yep. All right. So, Kat, what was your number 5?
Mine was Harley Quinn. I really wanted it to be much higher than this, but I'm happy it landed number 5 at least. So we'll see where it ends up going.
Gotcha. And what about you, Brian? What was your number 5 this week?
Black Widow, number 11. Barely. It wasn't the best issue of Black Widow we've had, but there were some fun moments in there.
The action was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. The action's always cool in this book. I like the powers of the twins that
Different.
they could shift their body mass. Yeah, that's something I hadn't quite seen like that before, so I thought that was really, really neat. And the stuff with Aranya and I can't remember the other girl's name, but in training with them and just kind of Lucy, just the differences between Black and White Widow and those two girls and how they all fit together, but not really. It's just always fun seeing them all interact together. But aside from that, like we're still on the apogee stuff and whatever's going on behind that. That's kind of a little bit boring to me. I'm kind of done with that, but still, solid issue.
I liked it. I thought it was a good issue. Again, the artwork is very gorgeous. I love this team of these 4 characters together. The interactions between Yelena and Natasha are really cool. Like Natasha's still having trust issues. It's kind of cool how she goes to her source to find out, different things, which is cool. And the whole situation with the family is not
Yeah.
done, which I thought was really cool because she gives
Right.
that dude a picture to find out where the family's at.
That was interesting. That was
Yeah.
one of the bigger tidbits. And again, like you said, the twins, that was just really interesting storytelling from like their power set. It's always cool to see a superhero book do something different. And yeah, was it the best issue of Black Widow? No, but it was still an entertaining issue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So that is everyone's number 5. So we talked about Power Rangers already, and we talked about Fantastic Four already. So now I'm going to stay on track and go to our number 4. And my number 4 was a book we already talked about. That was just Black Widow. So we talked about that. Yep. So, Brant, what was your number 4 book?
Mine was Fight Girls number 3.
Fight Girls?
Really? Yeah, Fight Girls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was good.
It was a really good issue. I mean, they kind of established that all bets are off with that first issue, but it just keeps getting the stakes keep getting higher and higher, and you got shark attacks in this one and limbs getting eaten off, and it's just crazy. And I don't even know what to think about this series, but I'm for whatever reason I'm still enjoying it. And then the guy that's trying to find out this information about Eye Patch Girl, he gets killed in this issue, but he ain't dead.
He ain't dead.
What the heck is going on with that guy? There's just a lot that we don't know yet, and it feels like it's a richer story than you're kind of led to believe with, the premise of a bunch of girls fighting in this thing to become the leader or queen or whatever. Yeah.
And the one that was favored to win that got like basically killed in the first issue, he was like the guy that's kind of in charge of everything to begin with,
Yeah.
But she was supposed to win that whole thing. But man, I love this issue. I mean, every panel was in my top 5 panels of the week.
Nice.
But it was that whole sequence of events where she loses her arm first, and then the pterodactyl comes and takes her out of the water. And then the freaking megalodon comes out and it freaking eats her and the freaking pterodactyl. And then the 2 girls are shitting in their pants and they're trying to swim to the end. And then the shark winds up getting like half taken off as it goes through that transport device. And same with the girl. Like this was such a like gory and violent, but like it was such a good page turner. And I'm like, oh man, is she going to actually make it? And you're just like, I just did not expect that to happen at the end of that book. I was like, wow, that was really, really intense. Just when you couldn't think there, when you think like, okay, I saw the first issue, second issue, same shit, third issue, you think, okay, well, what can they do different? They did something different there. They just leveled it up a whole next level. Absolutely.
And you thought it was over, like for a split second, you thought it was over and she won. And then it's like, oh, no, she didn't.
No.
But yeah, I could totally see this as a movie.
That would be cool.
I'm sure they got plans.
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
That would be cool. And the one that wound up going in the water, she wound up taking a pterodactyl and flying back up to the place. And she's like, hey, I'm still here.
Yep.
So they got a duel next in the next issue, which is kind of cool. So really good book. I love it. So much fun. Mm-hmm. All right, Kat, what's yours?
Mine was the Fantastic Four life story. I feel like I'm the only one reading this. I probably am. But this is good. It was from the Thing's point of view where we get to see his life in the 90s and him meet Alicia, which was really cool. And them all kind of still deal with the death of Johnny Storm. And then Reed and Sue maybe getting back together as Galactus is going to hit Earth, which has kind of been the big build up. But it was really good getting it from Ben's perspective. I liked his narration here, and overall just enjoying the series.
I had been reading it. I did not get a chance to read this issue this week, though. So.
If you haven't been liking the previous issues, you don't like this one. This is not going to blow you out of the water if you haven't liked the other ones. The only issue I hadn't liked was issue 1. But I really liked issue 2, 3, and 4. So I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So let's see. Now we're going to move on to the next book, which is Joker, issue 7. What do you think, guys, of Joker? What did you think about this one? I thought this had moments, but the overall plot progression wasn't really there.
I thought it was better than what we've been getting. I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Barbara, like I think Barbara really shined here and the Batgirls shine, but I also agree, like James was probably like the worst part of this issue. It's his book and nothing's really going on. But we get a little bit from that. The leader of the Court of Owls get a little bit from her. So I like that. It was a good issue, but I want it to be amazing like it once was. And I agree. I think the story needs to move a little bit more.
It definitely isn't as good as those first issues, right? But I actually really enjoyed this issue. I thought, yeah, the Jim stuff was a little slow, but I kind of liked him kind of analyzing and breaking down what was, why he was in that room and what her purpose was for pulling him in and what she needed from him and all that stuff. And it just showed how good a cop he is and how good of a detective he is to deduce all that. But at the same time, I really like the introduction of Pennyworth and, going to Santa Prisca, which is, exactly where she should be, trying to avenge her father's death and all that stuff. And, I enjoyed that side of it. I enjoyed the Batgirl side of it. Could there have been a little bit more progression? Yes. But compared to the past 2 or 3 issues, I think this was very good.
So, I agree with that. I'll definitely agree with that for sure. Because those previous 2 issues were just not great, and this one it did. It had some really solid elements in there. I just obviously, like you said, it's a Commissioner Gordon story, and everything surrounding Commissioner Gordon was good, but Commissioner Gordon himself was kind of just like, I'm going to talk to you and and we're going to discuss and sit around in a table some more. And then, here comes Bane's daughter. And, then we'll see what happens with that.
And the Joker's really not involved in this book.
It hasn't been for a while, yeah.
And I do want to see more of Grishetta, too. Like, I know we got to see a Talon in there. And she knew, like, they were watching her. That's why she was looking right at the camera. But it's just like, I want to know more about her, too. Like, I want to see her involvement in the comic. It's just so much about I don't know. It's just like not enough of the other stuff, So
it's too much going on. It's too much going on, which means little is going on because there's not a lot of time for things to breathe.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, what's going to happen when Tynion leaves? Like, does it end at 14?
I think it's over. The series is over.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I've fallen off this book just because I fell completely behind when I was with work, and I can't get back issues at this point. But 7 Secrets issue 12.
Oh, it's 12.
Yeah, this was another really good issue. So we get more information that Casper is going to die next week, or maybe next issue, but I don't know, but in that time period next week. And then his powers kind of get heightened here too. But honestly, the more interesting aspect was Amon, the villain, and his partner, who is still kind of part of that 7 Secrets group, and their origin story and like how they fell in love. And maybe they're not the villains of this story. Maybe it is the organization that are the villains. Like, why do we care more about a briefcase than real people? And it really is a story of how they loved each other and how they were abused. So very interesting issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It was going off the betrayal and the deaths of so many people previously, and then going into this, like, what are we going to get? And then you do get that backstory of Kanto and Amon, and just kind of the whole culture of the 7 Secrets group. And it's interesting how Amon's story is very similar to Casper's, where it was he was a product of forbidden love. They weren't supposed to be together, and at the same time they kept him in the system and hid who his parents were. Same thing that happened with Casper. So it's you're doing that parallel storytelling between the main villain and your main hero, which is really interesting to me. And then you have this looming death of Casper coming up. And next issue, it says it's Casper's secret. So we get to see what exactly that entails. and now he's like flying, and he's got all these powers, and it's like, okay, this is it's just gone up a notch. And yeah, it's very interesting playing with like who is, like you said, Kat, who is the real hero and who's the real villain of the story. So I liked it a lot.
All right, very cool. And then we're gonna move on to our number 3, guys. And my number 3 was Spider-Woman issue 15.
This is a good issue.
I really love this book. This book is so good. I love the action scenes in this book and just how Jessica fights. It's like I feel like she's got so much like built up anger in her. It's just so cool. But what made this book was the interactions between her, Rebecca, and her babysitter. What is it? Mindy? Is it Mindy?
Lindsay.
Lindsay. That's what it is. Lindsay. And I love all those interactions when she came in to rescue them, and then they had to go in the car, and the driver's just like, "There's no dogs in my car," and she's like, "Yeah, but this is not a dog. This is like a mutant half wolf, half thing, And he's like, "Oh, it's one of those." I was just like dying in that, and just the whole story of just how this book, like when I started it, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, how is she in a helicopter in the beginning of this book? And she was pinned up against the wall at the end of the last issue. And then
she doesn't even know how she ended up
there. All these pheromones that wound up, entering in her system and everything. And I love how they explained that. There's just so much going on in this book, and I love it. And the Rebecca character feels like she wants to, rescue her father. We find out that she's super smart. Like she's going for her master's in college, and she's only almost 17 years old. Yeah. And she's developed she's becoming another Spider-Woman, and we don't know what her name is because she's like, I don't, we don't want her to be a sidekick or whatever it is, but you get to see her wearing a suit and then her little dog wearing a suit too. I love this book, man. It's so entertaining.
This was a especially good issue because it kind of balanced everything we love about the series, the humor, the action, like you mentioned. But yeah, the niece made it for me. I really like her character. I want to see where she goes. I love that the family aspect's been kept for this series. And yeah, this was a really well done issue. And even the flashbacks of like her mom was really good. I'm very excited to see where this goes next.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just one of my favorite series to read. And it's so action-packed, like you said, Mike, and the fun, the humor, kind of tossed in there throughout. Like that one panel where she's like posing after, and Lindsay's like, how long do you keep these poses? Until the leg cramp stops. Yeah. And just stuff like that. It's just these little touches that just make this book special and something unique, I think. But I agree with both of you that Rebecca's role in this issue in particular just kind of really stole the show for this issue. And I really enjoy her character and the growth of her character from when we first saw her to now to where she's actually becoming a hero herself, I think is really cool. And that journey has been done so well. Yeah. And so, yeah, I love this book, and this is a really good issue.
Now, this is, and it's funny because even though there's like not like a major villain in this book, it's still really good. Why? Because the characters are all written really well. Yep. So this is what a good Spider-Man book should be. We see how Jessica is very very quick on her feet. You get to see how she has that humor. And it's just like, that's what I expect from a regular Spider-Man book. And like that type of action too. Like, I'm not expecting Peter to be super angry, at times or whatever, but when he's fighting or he's, doing battle in the streets, like I look for that type of stuff. And watching her fight in this comic book is amazing. I love the way she's drawn and the way she fights. It's so entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So that was my number 3. So Brant, what was yours?
Mine was actually the Joker. I really did like this issue.
Gotcha. And Kat?
Mine was Second Coming. Another book Mark Russell writes that no one reads here. But I love this book. This issue was about what is heaven, and it's this really mediocre place where everything you did didn't matter, and maybe you had a kind of worse life if you kind of follow the rules. So also it's the idea of the superhero Superman like character. He's kind of like a god, and he doesn't really know what to do in the world. There's opportunity just to hear like this to-do list of things that citizens want, and they're just crazy demands. And at the end, he's like, I don't know if I belong here. So it's a really interesting issue. It's the penultimate of this arc. So there's one more issue, and I'm guessing there's going to be another miniseries. Which again, this is the way to do it with indie books. I truly believe. But it's such a great series. I love it.
Cool. All right. So that was our number 3. So let's move down and let's talk about Batman Urban Legends issue 7. So honestly, the only reason why I read this book was because of Terry McGinnis, and I read that. And because of that, I got super excited for it, that we find out officially that Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, is making his way back into the DC universe. And I think it said it's coming out in March or April of 2022. So that's why I read this book. And I like that story.
It was interesting because there's an actual setup because Bruce dies, and it's like, okay, so who killed him? Let's figure this out. It's a detective story. But I also like that every story had to do with the future. Now, my personal preferences, I didn't quite like that, but I like as like a critic and the idea that everything was connected well. So and all the stories honestly were pretty good. I enjoyed all of them. Obviously the Terry one was the best, but I like this book. It's so cohesive and it just makes sense, and it's so good to have an anthology that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I only got a chance to read the Batman Beyond story. I didn't get a chance to read the rest of the book yet. But I did really enjoy that story. And like you said, Kat, it was a detective story, which is totally fitting for Batman, and, exploring how, who killed Bruce Wayne, which is, the ultimate mystery in a Batman book. But yeah, I like the reintroduction to him and how he came to be basically the ultimate version of Batman in Batman's eyes, even.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. A really cool way to pass the torch. Even more so than we had seen before. So,
yep, I agree. I definitely like that story, and it just got me pumped to have him back again.
Yeah.
So it's really good. All right, so let's talk about Maw Issue 1. I don't even know what the hell this book is. I read this book and I'm like, what is happening in this issue? It's like these women go to this retreat where it's just women, and then one girl is with her sister, and then she goes off to go drinking because maybe she doesn't believe in this, and then it looks like she gets like the date rape drug. I don't know, and then she wakes up, right? She wakes up, and supposedly this has happened to her before.
Yeah,
and then. I don't know. Like I kind of got lost with like, is the place that these ladies are at, is this some demonic place? Like I don't know. I was a little bit lost in all of that aspect of the story.
Yeah, my impression, which they did not give you much to go on here about it. My impression is it's either demonic or they're infected with something, or something brings out this different side of them that kind of maybe exacts revenge on the things that have happened to them. It's kind of like when one of them was talking, they did like this little circle, share circle, and one of them was talking about how her anger looks, and it looks like this weird monster with blades and stuff. And I don't know, it was really hard to follow. I agree with you, and I didn't know exactly where it was headed, or what the message was intended to be. It wasn't really grabbing me.
Yeah, it was very confusing. Like she was like, why don't you go to a hospital, or why don't you go to this? And she's like, well, I don't believe in that because this has happened to me before. And and it was just like, so it was like, so we went from like this crazy women's retreat to a rape to a girl that doesn't believe in the system because she got raped before, and we had to tell that story of when she got raped before, and it was just, it's like, why are we going all there? Like, I thought it was just something that had to do with this weird island with these women were going. I did not see that twist and turn there, so it was just way out there for me. It just did not grab me at all.
Did you read this one, Kat?
No. It does sound like I should.
No.
Good. I'm glad you didn't, because you definitely wouldn't like it.
No, it doesn't sound up my alley.
So it just felt very disjointed, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. All right. So now we're going to move on to our number 2. My number 2 was a book done by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, and they've been on stuff before. Obviously, Green Arrow, which Kat didn't like, and also,
it's like the only Jeff Lemire book I don't like too, which is so crazy.
And then he also did Gideon Falls. Those two did that together, and now they did this book called Primordial, and this book was quite interesting. It's kind of like a conspiracy theory thing, where it took place during the space race between Russia and the U.S., and then what happens is, like, Sputnik winds up, disappearing, and then there was this rocket that carried these apes into space, and supposedly the apes wind up dying in space. So what happened is they completely canceled the space program. But little did you know that there was this scientist that was there to clean everything up, but then he wound up doing a little bit more studies and found out that these apes actually didn't die. So they're trying to find out, where did these apes actually go? They went somewhere to the other side, type of situation, which was kind of cool. And the way Andrea Sorrentino's artwork is, it fits this book perfectly, because when you see these apes go to the other side, it breaks it up all into these little pieces. It even shows like a Pink Floyd logo through there as well, which was really awesome. I just thought it was a phenomenal book, and it definitely has true potential, because they meet up with, like, the Russians' dog that they sent up there, and the dog is like, hello, and the apes meet with each other in this weird, crazy place. I don't know, but it is quite interesting. And the scientist met up with some other guy to do an investigation on what happened with the apes in Russia and everything else. So it seems like it's going to be a very good story.
Nice.
What's to say? You guys need to sell out soon. You are good enough to start earning some serious cash for this show.
Thank you.
I
We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, very good book. I definitely recommend it. If you're into just independent stuff, if you like Jeff Lemire's writing, I think this is a really good book. All right. So, Kat, what's your number 2?
Mine was 7 Secrets. We already talked about it.
Brant.
Mine was Spider-Woman. We already talked about it.
All right. Pretty cool. All right. So now we're going to move on to, I hope this is not Kat's favorite book of the week, but this is Marauders.
It's not my favorite book of the week.
24.
It's kind of in the middle.
I'll give you the floor here. What did you think about this issue?
It wasn't great. It wasn't horrible. The art was not as strong as I feel like Phil Noto.
Weird art.
It's the Cable artist.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely recognize it as the Cable artist, but even so, I feel like he's done better on Cable. It was just very stiff
I don't know. He makes his characters look super tiny, like kids.
Kate had the 80s hair going on.
She did have her 80s hair back. I loved Emma and Kitty. Like, I love their interaction, but there's not much of a story here going on. I'm picking it up because it's Kitty, but this book has not been as strong as it should be.
So at the end, did they fly out of the ship? Is that where they're at now?
Yeah, they got thrown out the airlock, basically.
So are they, like, falling back to Earth? Is that what?
They're dying. They're
so hard
freezing
to tell
in space.
because of the art is not the greatest over there. There's, like, no faces.
Yeah, it talks about it on the next page, I think, some
Yeah.
kind of caption, and it says they're, the cold of space is slowly killing them, yada yada yada, whatever.
Kitty
But
already
who
do
cares?
this?
See, that's the problem. Like, it doesn't matter. Who cares if they die? Because they're going to be brought back again. That's
Yeah.
what they need to get away from this whole. If you want to keep Krakoa, that's great, but get rid of the whole resurrection
The
thing.
revival. I agree.
Yeah.
It's too much of a, there's no stakes at all.
I wonder if they're heading that way. I don't know if you guys read Trial of Magneto issue 2 this
I
week.
didn't.
I did, and Scarlet Witch is alive again, by the way.
Of course, of one issue.
Yeah.
Ready.
But Hope is at the center of this, and she knows something, and she's fighting Professor Xavier on things, and she's trying to help Magneto, and she's like giving him orders, and you can't let them find her body, and this kind of thing. So I don't know where that's headed, but I mean, Hope is one of the five, so I think it's on its way out.
It needs to.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it definitely needs to. This book was
I don't blame you, Mike, on this one.
It's
If
like
Kitty was
let's
not in
introduce this
book-
random guy that knows
Yeah.
Emma, and it's just like it has to do
Very
with
Star
the
Wars.
spaceship.
The Star Wars stuff was what I enjoyed about the book.
Right.
It was so
That's what
much.
it seemed like, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was Han Solo.
That's exactly who he
Exactly
was.
who he was, yeah.
Yep.
She stole the Millennium Falcon. So it's
It is a Star Wars comic. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just
All
so
right.
weird because Kitty had such a space history. They could have tapped into any story she did there, and they're like, "Nah,
That's
let's
true.
not do that."
I mean, her space history. I mean, being when she was with Star-Lord.
You're right.
Guardian, Star Lord, but also
Yeah.
she was in a Bullet for like 2 years, so
Right.
she knows space pretty well.
All right, so now we talked about the other books that were on there. So let's move on to our number one book. Mine was Fight Girls. I mean, you could have probably guessed that based off of the panels of the week, but when there's a book that sits there and just, even though it's not like a super in-depth story, and it just puts a smile on your face, and you're just like, holy cow, oh my god, that just happened. I'm like, no way. And then you flip it back and forth, and you're re-looking at it and stuff like that. I'm like, that's just really enjoyable for me, and that's what made it number one for me. It was just fun,
Yeah.
And I love when comics do that. So, Brant, what was yours?
Mine was 7 Secrets, which we already talked about. Yeah.
Kat?
Mine was Spider-Woman, so we
I knew
reversed
it. I
on
knew it
that.
would be flipped.
All right, pretty cool. Sounds like a plan there, guys. Good stuff. All right, so now we're going to go on to the chopping block. This is the books that we are looking to possibly exit from our pull list. And, well, Kat, it looks like it's finally going to happen.
I think, we waited. Yeah, we waited a while. It's funny. So for the viewers, me and Mike had an in-depth conversation of why we need to drop Iron Man. We're like, all right, let's give it one more issue. And we read it. It was like, I think we should drop Iron Man.
Yeah. We're like, nope, not reading it anymore. It's just, I can't deal with Korvac. I can't deal with just this one long, drawn out story. And even with Tony being on that different planet, there was no reason for him to be there. And there's no depth to this story anymore. It's just, it's just there. It's just
gotten
there.
really boring.
Even the relationship between Patsy and Tony is not the same. It really had a lot of potential in the beginning when they were together, but this whole thing is just like, you could have wrapped this thing up like 4 issues ago, and it would have been fine and done something else. I think this is going to be his only story, and he's going to be done.
And it's going to last like another 20 issues.
Well, I think in the December solicitations, I read it, and I found out that he's like, somehow like Tony gets like God powers or something.
Yeah, that doesn't interest me to
Yeah.
get to read
that
more.
does not at all.
Yeah,
He doesn't
I
need
think
any more God complex going on.
Yeah, to fight Korvac.
Yeah.
So that's
Korvac that powerful. Come on.
That's
This is
what
too much.
totally reassured me that I'm definitely dropping this book. for
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
Don't need to spend. I'll buy something else for another indie or another new number one that's going to come out or something, right? All right. So we have Kang is being possibly, it's like a half chop for a cat.
Yeah, I enjoy this book, but I don't know if I enjoyed enough to continue. I think it really depends on the week that it brings. Like, I like it, but this is very repetitive to everything we already read in issue 1, and I'm not too much of a Kang fan. Be like, oh, I gotta really get that next issue of Kang. So it's not bad, but it's just not blowing my mind.
I like this issue. I thought this one was actually pretty good because you get to see him go from this innocent boy in a way to kind of starting to turn towards that dark side element of things. And then by the time you wind up getting to the end of it, he wants pure revenge on older Kang. Like, his hatred is towards himself. And who does he make that deal with? Apocalypse. And I thought that was really cool at the end of it, on him being able to move forward. So I'm enjoying this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at the end. All right, so I'm dropping Maw, and Brent's dropping Maw as well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do I care about that character? Like, my gosh, that was a joke. And I'm doing it. I'm dropping Marauders. I can't
Don't blame
do
you
anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't. It has been.
I can't drop it.
What's that?
I can't drop it.
You can't?
I just can't.
Literally, if
love
I
the
drop
characters too
Marauders,
much.
I don't have an X-Men book. So, and I agree. I love Emma and Kitty too much to drop it. But man, I also don't blame you for dropping it.
Yeah.
It has not been good in a while.
I've read it for 24 issues, but it has been very bad for like
a while. Yeah.
Like
a
10 issues
long
now.
while. And I don't know if it's getting any better. And I don't know how long it's going to last.
Right.
Because this could be Jerry Duggan's focus now. He's on that main X-Men book, and maybe he doesn't have time to write it the way that he wants to, So if it does get better and you guys tell me, then I'll pick it back up again. But for now, I think I'm just going to let it go. I've given it a lot of tries. And then the next book that I'm going to drop is the Harley Quinn animated series. I gave the first issue a try. Unfortunately, it's just not my cup of tea. I'll try to go back on HBO Max and try to watch the series itself.
I think that's a better plan.
So Black Knight said what? He's dropping Fantastic Four, $10 for all that terrible Listen, like, I understand. Remuda Jr., though, is not doing the artwork, though, going forward.
Yeah, it was just that issue.
It's just that issue. So it's going to go back to whoever was doing the artwork before, which
was
actually
really good.
The artwork was really good. So I don't know if maybe you might want to reconsider that because, again, he just did this anniversary issue. Just kind of to let everybody know that he's back at Marvel, So, but yeah, you might want to reconsider. The story's been good though, right? So that's all the chopping block books. So Brant, I'm going to pass it to you now for our most anticipated books.
Yeah, so we got quite a bit of books to talk about this time. So we'll start with a book that was mentioned earlier in the show, which is TMNT: The Last Ronin, number 4. I am actually behind. I haven't read the last issue yet. I need to read that. But I'm always looking forward to this book. It's a really cool story. If you guys are TMNT fans and you have not tried this book out, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last issue was a little slower, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's only been about 4 months since the last issue come out. I think a lot of it has to do with like production issues when it comes to this book, or art delay or whatever it was that is taking so long for it to come out. And I've told people this, viewers of my channel, to just collect the whole thing and then read it all at once. I'm sure it will be so much more enjoyable that way, because it's like you get into the story, you're pumped for it when you're done reading it, and then it's like, oh wait, I'll see it in like 4 months. This just reminds me of Kick-Ass, when we were reading Kick-Ass back in the day. And it was months between issues.
8-9 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
a long
so
time.
ridiculously long. It was like 5 years to complete a 5-issue story.
And it did not end very satisfyingly.
No.
Right.
So.
That's yeah. that's a lot of Mark Miller things from back in the day. But keeping with that nostalgia, Mike, King Spawn issue 2.
Yeah, King Spawn. I think we're going to get a real kickoff to the series at this point. I think we're getting a return of a specific character that's in the Spawn universe, which I think a lot of fans are going to be looking forward to. So number one was really kind of an introduction of all the characters that are going to be in the Spawn universe. So again, this kicks off everything. Looking forward to it. Price point of this book now is officially $3.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. We were just talking about this series. So Fantastic Four number 36 actually comes out tomorrow as well. So that's back to back, right?
I know, right? Back to back. But I am excited to see the results. So, I'm still interested in the issue, but I hate when comics do that. I'm like, I just read you. I could wait a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least a week.
Yeah, I know, right? I just read you today, dude, and now I'm gonna read you again tomorrow. But at least it'll be a much smaller issue, and I guess I don't remember if this one is dealing with Johnny Storm. I know he is on the cover.
I think it is. He's on the cover, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, looking forward to it. Maybe it'll be like one of the more later books I read. So,
right, yeah. Smart. Get a little break in there. Let's see. Let's go to Baby Teeth number 20.
The last issue of the whole series.
Is it the last issue?
Yeah.
Wow.
So very curious to see how this is going to end. I like the last arcs thus far. I've enjoyed all the issues. This is another series that's taken a while to release, but always worth it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get obviously at that first trade, I'm going to have to just keep going with the trades and read it through there. I'm just going to have to do that.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if it's worth it, if that ending, if it's a good ending, which I think it will be.
Yeah.
If you hate the ending, I'm never reading that book again. We'll see. All right. We got another Secret Files, Batman Secret Files, Miracle Molly this time. Are either you guys getting it? No?
I'm getting it just to collect it all at this point because James Tynion's almost off the book, so why not finish it off? I don't think we'll get a lot more of these Secret Files. Yeah. Also, don't blame me on that one either. I don't think it's going to blow my mind. I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting that much this week.
That Clown Hunter one was a freaking disappointment.
I do remember it not being great.
That was bad. And it was just like Jason Todd shows up. He's like, come on, we could be a team together. And he's like, no, I don't work with anybody. I'm just going to run away. And we basically had nothing out of that book.
And as he's falling to his death, maybe I should have teamed up with him. Yeah, you idiot. Yeah, no, that one wasn't great. The Huntress one I still like, but
the Huntress one was good because it tied into the main story, which I enjoy. So maybe the Miracle Molly one might tie into the main story too, but I don't know if I want to invest in that money for that,
Yeah. Plus, that main story is Future State Magistrate. Do we want to have that link? I don't know.
It? Oh no. I'm not that issue.
Yeah, I mean it's Miracle Molly, right? She's completely tied.
I didn't really think about that. I thought, maybe we'll see her past. I was like,
well, yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like.
It could dive into her past where it has nothing to do with Future State,
right?
Or it ties.
I would like that.
Or it ties completely into Future State.
Yeah,
you don't know
the formation of the Unsanity, whatever. Yeah. But sticking with the Bat family, we got one of our favorite books, Nightwing 84.
Which has already been spoiled. There wasn't a big thing that happened in it, but like what does happen has already been spoiled on the internet. I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. But I will say what does happen, it's like, okay, cool. It's not really a spoiler, but it's whatever. It's being shown.
Whatever.
And I'm like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very
I didn't
excited.
see the spoiler, so.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I love this book. I'm excited for the issue that was just announced that they're gonna have like a full on double page spreads for every page.
I read that.
That looks interesting.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah,
that's gonna be.
It's like December.
Can't wait for that. This is my favorite.
It's gonna be gorgeous.
This is
Yeah.
my favorite DC book.
Oh,
Yeah.
by far.
Oh, hands down. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is art wise, this rivals Black Widow for me in the fight scenes and stuff. In both
Oh
of those
yeah,
books,
yeah.
it's almost like they're competing for who can do the best scene, like montage.
I still think
scene.
Black Widow like tops it for art in that way, but like Nightwing tops it for story.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But yeah, both very solid. But the Nightwing is just it's one of those books, man. We keep talking about this. It's just one of my favorite books, absolutely right now. Sticking with DC, we got a couple more DC books to talk about. We got Superman, Son of Kal-El, #3, and I've been enjoying that series so far.
Yeah, I'm interested to see like what this book's going to be about because we still don't really know. I like the friend. He's cool so far.
It's just John figuring out John. Like it's figuring out who he is and what his role is going to be. He's not going to be Superman. Like he's a different person.
I like that a lot.
And that's what makes it interesting. If people are thinking that John is going to be like Superman, then you're going to be wrong because you got to remember, again, he's growing up and he's going to be his own person and he's going to look at things in a different way.
He needs to be interesting.
Yeah. Right. And his father was born in a different planet and he came here when he was young. But this is John's home. I mean, he's half human and he's half Kryptonian. So he's got both elements going for him there. So I think that's what's going to make this book interesting. If you think he's going to be Superman, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to hate this book. And that's why this book needs to exist because this
100%
spin.
Yeah.
Gives you a different spin on a Superman book.
Yeah.
Tom Taylor just keeps, releasing great books. And I'm just so happy he's on a John Kent book because he needed to be on John Kent. It's just like he needed this character development.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't say any of that better than you two have said it already. So I completely agree.
That's why, I mean, this is what you call taking a bad situation and making it the best that you possibly can because a lot of people were disappointed that, John wound up getting aged up and we wound up missing all those years of him growing up. But Tom Taylor now is just trying to capitalize and making, again, the best out of that situation.
Yeah, and that's kind of his talent is taking these characters that either haven't had a lot done with them or nobody knows what to do with them and kind of making them shine. He did it at Marvel. He's doing it here.
Even Injustice. Look at a book that really shouldn't have been a success and was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's just one of those guys that can do that, and one of those creators that can do that, and it's really cool. Kelly Thompson's another one that does that, and I think on a lesser degree, Jed McKay over at Marvel is doing that with certain characters as well. Yeah, Black Cat and
Taskmaster,
and Moon Knight, and so. All right, moving on. We got Aquaman. Aquaman. Almost said Aquawoman for some reason. Aquaman: The Becoming #1.
I've only heard great things about this book, and I really hope. And I heard it's like supposed to be like really big for DC Comics, really big for Aquaman. So and I also like this character. So
This is all about Jackson Hyde, right?
It's all about Jackson Hyde. Yeah. I did not like a lot of Future State, but I really liked Aquaman Future State. So I'm hoping for the best of this book. But if it's everything I've been hearing it is, I hope it's my pick of the week because I would love to love this book.
Yeah, same. And I'm really invested in the Jackson character just from going back to Young Justice. And then, when he was first introduced in the comics, he wasn't as prominent, I don't think. And over the years, recent years, I think they've slowly tried to get back to where, Jackson is more prominent. And now we're, getting a series about Jackson. So I'm really looking forward to that and seeing what exactly they do with that character. So. And then we have the so anticipated death of Doctor Strange, #1.
I hope it's good. I'm interested. I think that's the best way to put it. Am I anticipating it? No, but I'm more excited to see who's going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme. I don't even care how he dies. I just want to see who takes over.
I want to know who kills him. and then who takes over for him. And I think those are like the two things that I really care about. Do I care about anything else that happens in between? Probably not, because I mean, I've said it before, I'm not a big magic person. I'm not so much into it. You got to really try hard to get my attention when it comes to, books that have to deal with that, and hopefully it does capture my attention and I do care about everything that happens in between, and I don't know, we'll see. I mean, he dies tomorrow, right? And so we're in September.
Maybe.
Maybe,
Who knows?
yeah, maybe. Or maybe he dies tomorrow, and then we don't get, I guess, the reveal till maybe December. So,
Yeah, I hate that we have to wait so long.
Yeah, sorry, I was reading the comment. Yeah, I kind of want to know why he dies too, but other than that, yeah, I kind of agree. All right, so our last book we got to talk about is another one of our favorite books, which is Radiant Black, issue number 8.
A lot of good books coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. Nightwing and Radiant Black always come out the same week, and it's like, oh, this is going to be a good week. Yeah, absolutely.
I forget where we're at in the series.
Yeah, me too.
But
okay, so Radiant Black, it was the last issue they were doing. They were fighting against that character Glitch, and they were transporting out, and then
they ended up in space facing.
Yeah,
that
they
whole
ended up
fleet
in space, and then Glitch wound up hitting the ground, and he was led to be unconscious, and they were going to reveal who was under that mask. So that's how it was in the cliffhanger. So that's what happened. And we're just getting these characters again on the same page working together. They call them the Radiants. I guess that's what Kyle Higgins calls them as a team, the Radiants.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an awesome book. If you're not reading it, go get that trade. It's one of the best indies out there. It's just cool to get a superhero book that's so fresh as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But that's all our most anticipated for this week.
We do get a commenter that says, anybody reading the new Moon Knight series, is it any good? I am not a fan of Moon Knight, so I do try it, and I have given this series a try because it's Jed McKay, and I'm a fan of his writing. However, it's something about Moon Knight that's just very confusing to me, and it goes over my head, and I can't seem to grasp what's going on in the series. So I'm currently reading it, and I'm not saying it's a bad book, but it's not made for me. So I don't know if Brant has a say in that either.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I don't love it. It's like not on the level of Taskmaster and Black Cat for me yet, but I think it has the potential to get there. I think there's things about Moon Knight that I like in this series that I've not been able to latch onto in past versions of the character. So that's saying something for me that I want to continue reading a Moon Knight series. That's the best praise I can give it at this point. So.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah. I mean, we're only 2 issues in, and third issue's getting ready to come out. So, all right. And that's it, right? That's it for all the anticipated.
That's it.
All right. Yep. So we're gonna close out the show now, guys. Kat's got her Kickstarter going on. Do you want to mention that one more time, Kat?
Yeah, please go check out Bi Visibility, a bisexual anthology. It is live until September 30th, so we're counting down the days there. And then also Slice of Life every Monday. We are coming up with a Kickstarter for that in October. So if you do miss the webtoon, we are doing a physical version of it as well, where we get a special 4-page story of them as a couple. So go check that out if you like anime and romance and slice of life type comic books. So really beautiful artwork there. Very like cartoony, Saturday morning cartoon. And then, of course, my comic book reviews tomorrow. Other than that, I'll be at Big Apple Comic-Con this weekend. So if you're in the New York City area, come visit. It's their 25th anniversary. Jimmy Palmiotti is going to be there. Green Ranger is going to be there. Amanda Connor. So it should be a good show. I'll be there.
That's the important thing.
That's the important thing for sure. But that's it for me.
All right, Brant, what do you got going on? Anything?
Yeah, a couple of things coming up. I got another book launching in a few weeks, and I'll talk more about that once I have a pre-launch page up for that one. We did send out surveys for our puzzle campaign, and if you missed the campaign, you can pre-order the puzzles at our pre-order store, which I just posted the link for. It's Neverland and Wonderland, and the next one we're going to do is Oz. So if you're into puzzles and you're into Legendary Lands, check those out. That's for our other brand, Torchlight Games. And of course, you can check out everything that we do for Last Summer Press at lastsummerpress.com, which is where our next title, which will be a cyberpunk title, is coming. We're waiting on one more cover, and everything is just looking fantastic for that. So really excited about that. But other than that, I'm just, just chipping away at everything else. So that's it.
Sweet. Awesome. And then for me, of course, guys, check out my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you're not already on there, I posted my bunch of videos, my weekly videos, which is comic book cover of the week, my top 10 most anticipated comic of the week. Wednesdays, there's always a comic book haul. Found out today, though, that like I'm not getting all my comic books for New Comic Book Day. I'm getting a few of them. But don't worry, there's always a haul and there's always something special attached to it. So I never go away empty-handed. So stay tuned for that. And then on Thursdays, we're going to have after the poll, and then Fridays is going to be the new issue ones coming out for the next comic book week. So that's some of the stuff that's coming out from my channel. And of course, guys, as always, thank you for taking the time and watching Comic Book Weekly, whether you watched it live or watched it afterwards. We appreciate you so much. And of course, guys, as always, if you like this show, please give it a thumbs up. Hit those bells for notifications. Like I said earlier, guys, you got to make sure you receive all of them for when Comic Book Weekly goes live. Subscribe to the channel, whether it's Comic Book Corner 2.0, Comic Book Weekly. Follow us on the social media stuff, even though we don't go crazy on it, but we are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We don't do so much Instagram. We definitely do YouTube. So, guys, thank you so much. And until next week, this is Mike, Brant, and Kat signing off. We'll see you guys real soon.